So when it comes to Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, I haven't really been paying too much attention to some of the controversies surrounding the censorship or whatnot in that. And you guys know me, I like to talk about the game mechanics, I like to talk about what makes the game great, and I felt that this necessarily wasn't a major deal overall, and I think to some degree it maybe not be for everybody out there, but there's definitely something that we have to talk about when it comes to Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, now that the creators of the source material have came out and kind of opposed what is happening with this game. And I want to say that I was wrong about some of the things. Whenever I did talk about it, I kind of just brushed it off, just said, hey, I'm not really too worried about that, but I do think it's something that we absolutely need to look into and discuss when it comes to going forward with what we want in our games or what's happening. But I think that we can do that in a way that's absolutely constructive overall. But I was absolutely wrong on one aspect, and we're going to get right into that. Before we do, what's good everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my RPG videos first. Now let's go ahead and jump right into this because we are going to get into this interview with the former Shonen Jump editor-in-chief, Torishima, former editor in charge of Dragon Ball, and Mr. Yuji Horii himself, the Dragon Quest creator. So these are the people that are responsible for the source original material of Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, and they discuss a lot of things when it comes to America and kind of what's going on, and they obviously feel very differently when it comes to some of the things. So let's go ahead and jump into this reaction here, and then of course we'll go over exactly kind of decompress and see what's going to happen going forward with what Square Enix is doing. All right, so here we are with the video that we're going to talk about. I am going to narrate over it because they're speaking in Japanese, but there is English subtitles. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. There was a lot of buzz about the costumes. It became a topic of discussion because they weren't exactly the same as they were back then. As you guys can see right there, the changes to the clothing. Yeah, there was various regulations in place. Apparently it's not allowed to show too much skin. Well, I don't really intend to dig too deep into that. It's simply about the user immersing themselves into the fiction and what's going on an adventure, or going on an adventure. What's wrong with it? I don't really understand that either. It's a game, it's fiction, it's a virtual experience, so as long as it's enjoyable, I think that's all that matters. If there's too much exposure, the age rating goes up. It means we won't be able to sell it as an all-ages product. Rules vary from country to country. When trying to sell widely, there's an issue having to comply with the strictest regulations. We never even thought about that in the past. Under the name of compliance, it's like an absolute god, an evil disguised as good. There's no such thing as content that doesn't make everyone uncomfortable. Because beauty and ugliness, good and evil, are different for everyone. There are a few things that absolutely must not be done. As long as you follow those, you're free to do the rest. So, there's a religious concept from the West, especially in America, that influences their approach to sex education, right? Their approach to compliance is really narrow-minded. When selling manga in America, everything had to be categorized by age groups. For Shonen Jump manga, they couldn't be sold unless they were rated for ages 13 and up. Because there's a risk of lawsuits, the company also has to get insurance. Doing business with such a ridiculous country is really frustrating. Because of that, Japan also gets negatively influenced. In Dragon Quest, you used to be able to choose between a male and female main character, but now you have to choose between a label in type 1 and type 2. Let me go back real quick so I can just get that last part. But yeah, okay, there we go. But now you can't choose between a man and a woman anymore, okay? We have to label them type 1 and type 2. I really wonder, who's even complaining about this? Alright, so that's the video. I think it goes on, but that's like the main part that I wanted to kind of get into and discuss overall, which we're definitely going to do that here. So there are a number of key things that I absolutely want to discuss here. Once again, I was wrong about at least the creators, or in Japan, how many of them do feel about this. Now, I don't know about the general population. I haven't been looking at the comments when it comes to hardcore Dragon Quest fans or anything like that. But when it comes to the creators, I'm very much in tune and in line with letting the creators kind of do their vision. If they feel that this is what they want to do, then I'm down with that, whether it's on one side or the other side. And I know there's a lot of culture war stuff that goes on with these things, and I'm not necessarily interested in that. I'm looking at it from the view of the actual creator, and if they want to implement something, and I've always been on that side. Now, you don't have to actually like it or buy it, and you can complain about it, but at the end of the day, I still feel that the creator's vision for something and what they want to do is what they're going to do, or at least what they want to do in the game. So that's to be respected. Now, you don't have to like it, once again, but in this case, I was wrong. I thought that they didn't really care, that they're just trying to get the game out and have fun, blah, blah, blah. But you hear what they have to say here. They're very frustrated with how they're doing things. Now, it goes beyond just Dragon Quest, right? They're talking about manga and having to sell in different ages, because there's certain content that's in Japan, and there's certain norms and, I would just say, way things are that's different, right? When it comes to certain things like sex education and other things that are obviously in other countries, it might be different on how they view things when it comes to that. So you have to be kind of sensitive depending on what region that you're in. But I do think that it does go too far sometimes. And in this case, we might be going a little bit too far with some of the outfits. Now, yeah, that's the ESRB. Like, that's something that you really can't get around. Like, if you're showing a lot of characters with a lot of skin, you know, and they're kind of scantily clad, that's definitely going to raise your age rating. And if you want to be able to sell it to kids underneath the age of 13 or whatever the case is, yeah, you're going to have to do something about that. So I think that's more of ESRB, which was determined back in the whole case with Mortal Kombat and Night Trap and Sega and Nintendo and all of that stuff. That was something that's more of a product of that, more so than, I would say, the modern times or whatever it is. But at the same time, like, I do feel that, yeah, there should be a way to be able to have that in terms of the access to it, if you want to get that, or at least if you want to have it in that way. But then again, you got to look at the age rating. So it's one of those things to where it's hard to really kind of put your finger on exactly how you're going to change certain things, unless you just want to raise that age rating, right? You look at the costumes, for example. I would like it to be the original costume. This was something that I complained about in Bravely Default, from the Japanese version to the English version. So it's not even like Square Enix, this is like new for them. This is something that they've been doing, or at least something that's been happening for a decade now at this point, decade plus at this point, because Bravely Default definitely had some censorship or covering up of one of the outfits with the characters in a specific section. And there's been other outfits as well that have been covered up. And there's just been things over the course of time from various different games. It's not just Dragon Quest. So I don't really know if there's anything that we can do to actually fix that, or if there is something that's like, okay, hey, you know, this is going to be able to fix the situation or fix the issue that we're dealing with, or things that are happening. But I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where it goes. Now, when it comes to Dragon Quest, what will this do to the game itself? Will it affect the sales? Will it affect certain things that are happening with it? I mean, it's definitely possible that it does. And I just noticed something real quick, guys. I'm going to take off these glasses. These aren't actual real glasses that I have to wear for my eyesight. My eyesight is absolutely perfect. I got 20/20, but I just noticed some people don't like the reflection. So I'm going to take those off anyway, right mid-video. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue on here. So there are some things when it comes down to Dragon Quest. Do people feel like it's going to actually affect the sales of it or anything like that? And I would say I don't think it will. But once again, I don't think it will. But at the same time, there's definitely people that are getting kind of tired with some of this stuff. But it's like, how do you get around that? And that's why I wanted to kind of open it up to you guys. I'll be looking through the comment section. How do you get around not having the age rating moved up? How do you get around there not being some of these things that are kind of almost like unavoidable overall? I mean, there are certain things that I know even like Nintendo says, like, hey, we don't want to have certain themes or certain stuff because that could cause some problems here and there. So they just leave it out overall, right? And there's so many different sides to how people feel about this. Now, my own personal thing with Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake, and of course Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remakes, I'm going to enjoy the game. even though there's some situations with that, just like Bravely Default, just like we've seen with other games, I'm going to enjoy the game for what it is. I'm going to enjoy the game for them remaking it, and because I want to see more remakes of classic RPGs. I want to see them kind of be successful. I want to see Team Asano and the guys that make the HD-2D prosper. So I'm definitely going to be supporting it. But there's another thing that's in here that I feel was absolutely the wrong call, which doesn't affect the age rating or anything like that, which is the whole type 1, type 2, or type A, type B, or whatever the case is, right? To me, that should have just been the way that it was originally. I mean, there's already some stuff that people are not going to be happy with the censorship of the costumes, right? I think that maybe you shouldn't have to go too far. Nobody was really complaining about man-woman type of thing. Nobody was really complaining about that. Just like Mr. Hori had to say here, when it comes down to it, who's complaining about this? So I don't understand why they overcorrected here. Like, the thing with this, and to me, it should always be universal with this stuff, is that if you're going to change things that are beloved in old school RPGs or old school JRPGs or whatever the case is, it better be a positive change. It better be something to where fans say, oh, wow, that's way better, or okay, cool, that actually enhances things. And if you change things just for the sake of it, or if you change things because there might be some type of ulterior motive, or at least it gives people the impression that it is, it's going to become a way bigger deal than it even needs to be. Covering up outfits and all that, okay, whatever. Age ratings, you can't get past that. That's been decided decades ago with the whole ESRB thing. But type 1, type 2, or type A, type B, and man-woman thing, like, that's something that you probably should have just left alone that was in the original. Something that was just, okay, it is what it is, right? So I see what Mr. Hori was saying, and now looking at it, it's like, man, like, I like to support what the developers' visions are for it. So he feels that it's kind of unnecessary, that there was no need for that. And if that's how he feels, then we have to talk about that. That's what we're doing right now. And I know it's not, like I said, a big deal overall. You still get the same redone sprite, man, woman, whatever. But people are going to play up something and make it a bigger thing because, once again, you have the culture war. You have other stuff that's going to absolutely piss people off, and it becomes a way bigger thing to where now it's got all the way back to Japan. It's got to the creators. It's got to the people talking in this type of way, and I feel that it takes away from what we really should be talking about, which is how awesome the game is. So it's a distraction. It keeps people not focused on what's important. And I've seen more people complain about this than actually talk about what's cool in the game, the new added content, the graphics, whatever the case is. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that are still talking about that, but it seems like whenever you mention it, you can't avoid it, right? So to me, whenever I played sports, that was seen as a distraction. When people start talking about things that aren't actually has to do with what needs to get done, which is the game itself, that becomes something to where it's like, oh man, it detracts from the experience, which I think they talked about a little bit here too. And I think that they feel somewhat like, man, it's kind of detracting from what we actually want to do in the game or what the game actually is. Now, and of course, they talked about the game and what makes it good and what they're doing and all of that. But the fact that I felt the need to say I was wrong, and the fact that I have to sit here and take an L on this one, which I don't mind doing because I was definitely wrong, is something that I think in the future Square Enix really needs to take a hard look at, and they don't need to overcorrect. They don't need to overcorrect. Just get your game in, man. If you're remaking something, make it faithful, make it to whatever, and any type of upgrades or any type of improvements, or if you have to do something, make sure you do exactly what is done and just that. If it's not better overall and something that doesn't have anything to do with the age ratings or anything like that, then don't worry about it. Then don't worry about changing it. Don't worry about it, because people are going to bring up all sorts of stuff, and you're going to have the same type of people, you know who they are, that are going to be continuously making videos and talking about it when they don't even care about Dragon Quest. So it becomes, I wouldn't say like positive, I would say it becomes just distracting from the actual game itself. So I'm hoping something gets done in the future to where this doesn't happen again, and Square Enix can kind of look and learn from this experience, because the internet is bigger and it's crazier than it's ever been. A decade plus ago, when Bravely Default came out, it is not the same thing as a big mainline Dragon Quest game being remade, for real remade, for the first time ever. So they have to be more cognizant of some of these things. But what are your thoughts on this, guys, when it comes to what Mr. Hori had to say about Dragon Quest and the creators, Dragon Ball, Shonen Jump, what they had to say. How do you feel about Dragon Quest 3 HD-2D Remake? Are you still going to buy the game? Are you not checking it out now at this point? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.